All right, we'll come to order at 5 o'clock. Let's introduce ourselves.
Scott Morley, Select Board.
Carrie Keeman, Select Board.
Matt Maxwell, Town Administrator. Alderman Cat, Emergency Management Director.
Charles Kahn, resident.
Jackman White, Town Clerk.
Dave Barlow, Town Treasurer. Changes or additions to the agenda. We won't be approving the special town meeting minutes tonight because we lost the guy who approved them. So that was out on February 20th.
February.
May 20th. We know, we're gonna push it all the way to February. Public comment?
I just have one quick note.
Go down.
Jerry Saintsberg came and saw me for the cemetery. I think you're gonna be seeing some pretty cool stuff starting to come down with that. Of course, with the town meeting, there was 2 new people placed onto that board. So he came in, I set him up, we got a meeting established with an agenda, they did reorganization of the board. And they're planning on starting to meet on a monthly basis so that they can try to get information from Jerry down to Alyssa Khan and Daniel Doe. And to get a little bit more procedures and information set up. I did talk with Matt, we're gonna go ahead and create them their own separate web page on the town website so we can have pricing. Costs are, the cemeteries, which ones are still available to be placed within. A lot of good stuff, so I think you're gonna start seeing budgets and whatnot coming from them in regards to items.
Very nice.
Yeah,
Good.
so I
Thank
think
you.
it's gonna be really good.
Thanks, Deb.
Yep.
Okay. Town business practices.
Oh, that's mine, isn't it?
That is yours.
I forgot about that. So I asked for that to be put on just essentially for a little bit of communication and any discussion that folks think they should have. One of the examples that was in my mind was that of the road crew, the highway department. We've had a few struggles here lately. And I don't mean it to sound that bad, you know, we had a bump in the road or a couple bumps in the road, and essentially I thought about it a long time, and the town in the last year, we have pushed very hard for transparency and open discussion and more consensus around all the matters. That with a road crew, nobody ever used to see that stuff. The hiring was done by the road commissioner. Personnel matters were handled that way also, so it never came to this table and there was an open discussion around it. So it's better this way, I think. I think we're all in agreement on that. The board should be the focus of, you know, personnel and keeping those things, keeping everybody in the loop, making the decisions. Sometimes they're tough decisions. We have made some tough decisions recently over there, but I think it all has worked out well. I think we all learn. It shouldn't, those things shouldn't be on the shoulders of one person, because as we learned and as everybody else does, when one person leaves, there's a vacuum and there's a lot of information that goes out the door. So we gotta systematically eliminate those things if we can, and that's what we're doing. So it's a little bit of a bumpy road in some of those ways, but I think it's worked out well. So with that in mind, just using that as an example, it cuts across a lot of things, right? It cuts across the way we look at our policy developments. It cuts across the way that we look at some of our procedures and practices. Cemetery is a great example, so that it's not done and nobody knows about it. Nobody knows how it's done. It obviously has been getting done. Because cemetery is in great shape and the folks that have been doing that for a long time have done a great job, but we really don't know what they do and how they do it. So when you lose them, you gotta kind of reinvent the wheel. So it's great that we're doing that.
We're done with Jerry, you'd be very surprised with what he's done for this town.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Yep. I guess one of the last things on that would be Matt and I we bumped into it again today, and we talked about the town making assignments to projects or areas of responsibility more in a positionally based approach rather than a person. It's very difficult when persons do it because of their skill sets, their energy, their drive, their want. It can work, and it does work, but it's not best. It's best, we have a town administrator, we have a select board, we have all of our officials, and so we all have to sometimes take a step back and relearn what are all those positions for. They're all here for a reason, and are the things that we're all doing in the right spot. It's not a personality issue, it's a position issue. So that's the discussion we're gonna keep on having as we keep bumping into these things. Is this in the right place? Well, you're here tonight, because of it. Thank goodness you're here. We appreciate it. We'll be there in a minute, but so that's why I just wanted to say thank you to everybody for hanging out and sticking in there through some of these sort of tumultuous issues, but I think we've come out on the better side of things, and I think that seems to be going pretty good. I don't know what your take on it is.
No, that all sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Blathering there.
Very good. Tax sale, we've got one coming up next week. Tuesday, I think, May 14th. Kate wanted this on here to see if you guys wanted to designate a town official to bid on behalf of the town. Or to just be there to represent the town. If you wanted to do it, or if you wanted to point somebody to do it.
So my very first instinct when I saw that was to say, no, why would the town want land or houses or whatever, but correct me, is there good reason, not good reason?
I know the last time when there was one on my road, the town was adamantly, we're not taking that on because it was gonna be more of an expense to the town to try to have to get rid of that than
Right.
anything else. But I can tell you, and I don't know if she's appraised you or not, but there has been some new legislation going through. And honestly, the state, one of their changes they wanted to make is when a property was gonna go up for tax sale, the amount of the difference between what the bid amount was and the assessed value was gonna have to be paid to that property owner. In the aspect that you do have people who are having properties sort of like just taken out from underneath them. Of course, that's created a lot of hoopla within legislation. It sounds like they sort of simmer that back down. But you're gonna see there are some changes coming up with property tax sales.
So meaning if they owe $5,000 in taxes, but it's worth 100,000?
You're gonna be paid that $95,000 difference.
Which,
Yeah,
So that's not a law yet, that's
no, but that's just some stuff that's
some
coming
thinking
up.
that people are
But, and whether that comes
pushing.
in force, you don't know, but there are other stuff dealing with the percents and different stuff like that, that's probably is going to be changing. But I don't know, because once a town takes over property, what are you gonna do with that?
Right,
And maybe David may have some,
that's what I was gonna look
Thoughts?
next, yeah.
Yes, some thoughts, yeah. There's certain things you definitely, you probably don't have any interest in owning any unlanded mobile homes.
yeah,
And, but there's some good purpose for bidding on properties that include land. It may be bare land, it may be a land with a mobile home on it, or a house or a barn or structure or something. And that it continues to allow us to hold the parcel owner's feet to the fire to get paid. to get our tax money back. If you let it, if a property goes, and the only reason we would bid on a property is if it has no other bids. Or has, yeah, I mean, the minimum bid always has to be the tax that's owed plus all the fees. But if we have properties, and it has happened, where we have a parcel or two where nobody bids, then that parcel kind of, there's no longer much impetus for the owner to pay, at least for another year, until we throw another tax sale. You lose a lot of leverage. And we may, in fact, there are some value, I mean, there's potential that nobody shows for the tax sale and there's valuable properties on it. And, you know, you want to maintain some leverage. So you would never bid more than what the taxes and fees that are owed.
Do we know how many properties are still going up for tax sales?
I don't, we don't have anything on that, Matt.
Yeah, there's a list posted.
But how many have paid,
Posted spots. Why, she's got a bunch of envelopes on her desk, so I don't know. I mean,
Yeah, we're paying the agreement, right?
yeah.
I can give an example. In the past, we did bid on the before parcel that's on the list again this year. And we won it 1 year. And that was good leverage and it got paid off, got redeemed. But it's only in the case of when there's no other bids. Typically, we're not in there. We're not in there to get property, but we're in there to keep the pressure on. So what I'd recommend is that once we know which parcels are actually going to go into the sale, you know, maybe a couple, 2-3 days before, if we can get the board to designate a person to review it with probably Kate and Matt to figure out, does the town want to bid or not? I don't think you want to decide right now because you don't know what's going on for sale, but you'll have clarity once you get real close.
So for tonight, what we do need to do, because we won't have a meeting between now and then, is to appoint you.
Yeah. If
To-
you unless one of you wants to do it.
It's during the day.
It's like 10 o'clock,
Yeah, so I'm not gonna do it.
Where is it held? Right here.
right in my office. Downstairs, usually. Well, that's what the last one was.
Is that something that you wanna do?
I mean, I can. We would decide tonight an amount,
No,
just meet to talk about it for now, but
the board would probably be giving you the authority to attend and place a bid to whatever the maximum amount owed for each of parcels.
and only that amount.
Typically, that's correct, unless the town really wanted to get one of the parcels. And that's a different story. I don't think that's the case with any of the parcels.
I wouldn't think so either, not with what I saw on the list.
I mean, I can come and meet with them and see what's on the list, and if there are no bids, bid for taxes owed.
Yeah, you can always appoint, you can certainly appoint Matt to place the bid, but Matt, you're gonna be there, right?
I'm gonna be there unless something weird happens that day. I'll be there.
In the past, you know, Amanda was appointed to do the bidding. The last tax sale we had was quite a while ago. She bid on the before parcel. The town was the only bidder, and we kept the pressure on, and it was redeemed, meaning the taxes were paid. We did not become the parcel owner.
But I would imagine we probably want Matt to go out and look at all of those properties prior to the tax sale to make sure it is something we actually do even want. Or no,
You can't.
yeah.
I don't think we're not, I hope the town's not really interested in buying property unless we haven't identified it.
No, I mean, that's why I said it's opening, my first instinct was that we're not. But from what that one example that you just provided is good sense that there are, if there's no bid and it does allow for the pressure, you get paid. So, if you want to do it, to participate,
I can,
otherwise
yeah,
we'll appoint Matt.
yeah.
It's up to you.
I mean, it's in his office. You want to do it?
Sure.
Yeah.
It's
You wanna do
probably good positionally anyway, kind of goes back to what you guys are just saying, it's kind of, but. What day is it
May
next?
14th.
When is that? Next week?
Tuesday.
Next Tuesday. Okay, so,
Did you say 10 a.m.?
I believe it's today, yeah, I'd have to look at her. Tate's got to post.
we're gonna leave it to you to get with Kate
Yep.
and Kristen
Mhm.
without spending a lot of money with that. You
No,
know,
I
only if you need to,
I
but,
don't,
you know,
I don't need
no
to talk. to Christine.
ungrounded mobiles, no. You know, you gotta know
Right.
what you're
No
doing.
waste dumps, that kind of thing. Yeah, I mean, there's
Yeah.
All right.
you want to have a review of the parcels that look like they're going to go to the sale.
Yeah,
'Cause there may be some you don't want to bid on, but
right. Okay. Okay, so I'll make a motion to appoint the town administrator as the authority for the town for the bidding at the tax sales.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Did you want to say up to the scale amount? For a dollar amount?
Yes, I do, thank you.
Plus fees.
How would we say that, Dave?
That probably.
David's
the total
gone.
Tax sale cost.
Yeah.
David, did you hear that question?
I did. I'm not sure you can set a dollar amount because you don't know which properties, but it's always in the past, at least, we're only going to bid the amount owed.
Yeah,
So I'm not owed.
yeah. That makes sense.
Mhm. Which would include all the fees and.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
So add that in the math.
Yep, got it.
Okay,
All right, next up we have NEK Broadband. And we're gonna start out with David Barlow's letter of resignation from NEK Broadband. All right, very good.
You make it into a paper airplane.
Yeah, and we have Charles here as the candidate to replace him.
okay, so let's just set that up a little bit and not make that sound negative. David, he's gone again. Thank you. Oh, he is?
I'm still here.
Thank you very much for all of your participation in that, for however long you've been doing it, years, I assume.
Since there wasn't so many days.
Yeah, 21, 20. It's been a while.
Okay, so we had some discussion about that not too long ago. The town receives an annual letter from them, asking us to review the folks. And that discussion sort of led us to, you know, David has been wonderful in a lot of things. He's currently residing in Derby, so he's outside the town. We had some discussion on that. It was not a showstopper. But the discussion was, well, let's see if there's anybody around town who's interested. And one came up right over there, Charles. So with that said, Charles, tell us what you know and what you're here for.
Yeah, my name is Charles, live in Coventry. I thought on one of the previous select board meetings that this had come up, but annual renewal of who the people are representing the town. I work from home, I'm an engineer, I use internet every day, so I was interested in the position, both for personal reasons, just that's how I make my living, having a strong internet connection is good for me, but I also have a young child who's school age, so we'll be using online resources. We do telehealth stuff as well. But I'm also just interested for the town, what their interest is in having this service. It seems like we're fairly late on the rollout from Nick Broadband, so it's gonna be years away, according to them, when we would actually get the fiber service installed. So I was just curious personally, what it would take to bump Coventry up in the list to get that done faster. If there's any downsides, we have to pay for it, is it less reliable or something? I'm just sort of interested in understanding the situation and what our options are. And my goal would be to figure all that out and then present to you guys, so you guys can make the decision about, is it worth it or not?
Perfect.
I was gonna say, that sounds really good.
Perfect.
Mhm.
Originally, and David probably know this, is they went through the whole state of Vermont, they looked at all the different counties and areas to see who was severely impacted. And that's who they're targeting first, so apparently Coventry, even though we do have some areas that are impacted, we're not like other towns or cities who are severely
Pretty
impacted.
sure that's.
So they went out, they did those first, and then
Mhm.
I think cities and towns that had like EMS and stuff of that nature to make sure those were like top priority. And so basically they've gone through and set up each town, as you said, on a little ladder. And once they get to our spot on the ladder is typically when they're supposed to receive that. I don't know, and maybe David will know if there's a way to push it up. I don't believe so, but I think it's whenever it is, it's our time.
Okay. Sounds great to me. I really appreciate
Mhm.
stepping forward. It's good to get other folks involved, and it sounds like you're well suited. So
Mhm.
you support that?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I would make a motion that the town submit Charles Kahn, did I say that right? Charles Kahn to be our primary representative for Northeast Kingdom Broadband.
Second,
All in favor?
aye,
Aye.
awesome, thank you, and thank David.
So
Thank
I can
you.
follow up with David and get some handover.
Please do, between David and Matt. They can kick you off, get you teed up, and then you can go fix it. Should have.
Okay, dry hydrants. You should have a email in there that Phil sent me detailing all the problems we might have with the dry hydrants and what he recommends we do to fix those. And Phil is here, as you can see.
Hi, Phil. I must admit that I glanced over this. I didn't really pound it in there hard.
Well, I put it out in an email and I gotta look it up to see what exactly.
So before we get lost in the detail of all of that, let's talk about it. Let's take the 1,000-foot view first. We've talked about it, you and I've talked about it with Matt. So stop me and correct me when I'm wrong, but, so dry hydrants, Carrie, we have a bunch of dry
There's
hydrants
one in the trailer park still.
Meadow Park, okay.
Mhm.
all over. How many we got?
Four.
Mike's now, Maple Ridge, Spencer Hill. Fish Max, guys. 6 years ago, well,
So
not,
six.
not minusing the one that needed to be fixed, but yes.
Okay.
6.
And there's more than
One
that out there.
One that was pulled out,
So.
7, sorry, there's what's the.
So Phil's, sort of led the charge on those, I guess, for a long time. Through being emergency management director. We've had some discussions, Matt and I've had some discussions, I think we might have talked about it back when we were dealing with fire department contracts. If we didn't online, we certainly did offline. So my thing again recently was, this seems like an issue that never really gets resolved properly. There's a lot of moving parts, takes a lot of time. As you can see with what Phil just gave us, and he, I'm sure could do more than that and really scare you. So my bounce back recently was, why don't we incorporate the dry hydrant work, the maintenance, the making sure it all works to the fire department contracts we have? And we have 2 now. And so we would have to generate that conversation with them to see if they'd be interested. I'm sure one of them would be, right? At least one, hopefully they both would, but we'd have to have that conversation with them, see where that goes, but it would be part of the contract. You know, it's a vital piece of equipment that we have. They're there for a reason, and we do have hydrants that aren't working. That's not good. And so right now, we don't have an employee where we can deal with performance-based stuff. We have somebody who doesn't get paid to do it, helping out civically. That's just not the best process probably for, you know, this issue. I think it makes more sense if we can find a way to get the fire departments involved, folded into their contracts potentially. I don't know what that looks like. Maybe it's an aside, maybe they want to charge on the side, and so it's not put into the rolling average piece. It might be a unique situation, but we can have that conversation with them. And then we could talk to them about, what does that mean? What are we willing to pay for you? Probably willing to pay for an annual inspection, and we get a piece of paper for that. And, you know,
So what do they need for, just on a day-to-day or whatever basis? They need to be like flushed, do they need to
As
be?
far as, when there's nothing wrong, yeah, it's just you go out and test them once, twice a year. Usually we try, Newport was doing it once every spring. But doing it twice a year is good, fall and spring. Flush them, make sure they run and they're going right. And then, yeah, if you build it in, then they can do a test and give a report. Actually, I think in learning more on this, talking with Troy Dyer, the dry hydrant guy with the state, you're actually supposed to have that type of testing done once a year.
I would
As
think,
far as the grants go,
Yeah.
a maintenance schedule, a maintenance log, everything.
You don't wanna get there and they don't work
Yeah.
because they haven't been used for,
Done.
yeah.
Yeah. We found these issues, we found the last spring when we tested them. One of them, I think, is one that's just, you can't get anything out of them, but. The others you can. Make it work.
Does formalizing that inspection help you get grant money to fix it, or?
So we can file for grants, and then the good thing, I did verify with Troy today that if we went this direction. The fire departments can do the grant process too with them, so it should still work the same as far as monetarily goes and everything. So yes, there's a dry hydrant, state dry hydrant program that right now I started the process, and that's why this has all come around of. There's 4 or 5 grant applications that I put out there for what we have going on in the right.
so this is an issue I'm gathering that, you know, we gotta get on.
At least the upgrades and the repairs.
Yeah.
And then the one up on Pine Hill, because that one's gone.
Is that on Briars?
That was Briar's
Dad's
pump that
phone.
got pulled out a year and a half ago. Cause it wasn't there.
So with the fire departments like not, I mean, they're gonna test them, are they gonna maintain them though too?
Well,
Or
that's
that's-
what he's talking about, that's where the discussion needs to be started with the one in Newport on. If that's something they want to bring on, because again, the fire departments, they're both volunteers too, so you don't have. It's essentially, they're gonna end up probably having to do the same thing we would end up having to do, is hiring someone else to do the work. And then
So what do other towns do who have dry hydrants? What the hell are
He
they?
said today when I was asking this question, he says this question does come up a lot in the state on. If the town doesn't take care of it, is the fire, can the fire department do it? And of course, a lot of fire departments around, even in this area, they aren't town municipalities, they're private. Too, so that's kind of where that comes up too at the same time, so it works the same, it's, so.
But do you think there's like an organization that like goes around and does that for a living? Like, you know, the fire extinguisher guys or the,
There's,
you know, the
there's people that,
elevator guys, they all go around sort of, is
yeah,
there?
there's people you can get, it's. Troy does, when you go and put a new one in, he's the one that comes out and puts it in. He helps with putting it in, you have the laborers there to help with it, but, then you just have the contractors digging the hole and getting the access road. But it's a decision to come up with.
I think it's one of those things where the ultimate buck stops back here.
Yeah.
You know, it's infrastructure that we are in control of. Creating it.
Yeah.
And that reliability and maintenance piece would then therefore come back to us. Now, who we have do it, I don't think that much matters, as long as we've got some reality checks that it is getting done, and so if we could at least quickly engage the conversation with the two contracted departments we have to see what they've got expertise in the area and see what where they need us. Maybe they want to, maybe they don't want to, maybe. I'm instinctually thinking that they're probably gonna do it. Makes sense, their men or women are out there fighting fires, they're gonna wanna know where those are, you know, just muscle memory stuff, how they operate, how to find them. So I think we should do that. But,
Can I make a suggestion on the quickness part?
yeah,
Is we still push forward with the upgrades and repair one through ourselves, because Pedro and I have discussed that part of it,
yeah,
and he's good with helping on. Doing the repairs, he's done the dry hydrants prior to, and along with city plumbing and wastewater, so.
okay,
They're all above ground fixes that happen, we just gotta get the parts and stuff from. Troy.
so you and Pedro are willing to take care of these issues for the town and get us through the moment.
At least get the three that have issues. Up and running. And then we can.
And then they can always come
Talk with.
back behind you and doing inspections anyway. But at least, you know, we've done some, and Pedro knows what he's doing, done this stuff before. That seems kind of reasonable, I would think.
Mhm. How many hydrants are in each district, do you know? As you said, like Webster Road, and then we've got,
So I gotta think about the new lines, looks like Orleans only has one, two. Orleans has the one down on the fishing access on Coventry Station and the Webster Road. And the rest of them are in.
Newport.
Yeah, so I can't imagine that they wouldn't.
Yeah.
And then maybe like Leo was mentioning, maybe they're already doing that in some of these other towns that they're providing service for. I don't know.
Orleans would be the only, yeah.
We'd have to talk to them about it. So I think that's a pretty good plan. We'll let you guys go out there and do that work now for us that you've gotten here for repairs. Let's see, so I see the word
They're at an estimated cost on the repair.
grant there already.
Yeah. He was gonna work on getting me a better cost on that, the repairs today, he just, got back to me yet. Troy, for the materials.
because right now you have 2850.
Oh, wait, yeah.
So if we just approved you up to 3,000, it'd be,
Mhm.
and then why is it saying grant beside that?
So the grant would be 2,100, it's a 3/4.
So it's a payback?
Yeah.
And that would, and we've already gotten that done, we've submitted, or we
The
didn't-
application's been submitted,
the
so
application.
it's the next step.
Okay, yeah, I think we should do that.
Mhm.
If the cost comes in, because that was just a rough, quick estimate he did. For the repairs and upgrades, the 2850.
That's why I was gonna go up to
He's-
30.
He's gonna work on. A better one right now.
Okay. You good with all that?
Mhm.
Sensible, seems
Mhm.
like it's sensible. So we'll take that in 2 bites. So this one is, I'll make a motion that we authorize the emergency management director to expend up to $3,000 for repairs to the dry hydrants.
Second,
All in favor?
aye.
Aye. Okay, so that's that. The other piece would be, Matt, why don't you put that on your to-do list to reach out to the 2 fire departments?
Okay.
And have that discussion with them if they would be interested in,
When you reach out on just maintenance and
so who's doing the Newport stuff? Have they got a chief yet?
still Kevin's.
It's still Kevin. So Kevin and
Kevin and
EJ,
EJ.
And
just
probably
reach out
part
to
of
them.
that is
And what am I'm asking if they are interested in,
Taking on the maintenance of the dry hydrants and then anything like. Project management of and new ones.
okay.
Yeah. Overall management of those
And the.
in their
bill would
area.
Go through that, they would bill us for
Right,
whatever it comes out.
build the town, yep. Okay.
We would have to have that whole discussion around whether or not that gets rolled into their moving average. They may or may not want that, or if they wanna do
Flat rate.
something to the side of that.
Mhm.
Both are probably fine with us, but it might make a difference for them one way or the other, so.
Okay.
Have that discussion and then see where it leads and give us feedback on.
Okay.
Thank you, Phil.
Thank you.
Next up is the Coventry Town Foundation.
Yeah, what do you want?
Well,
What's that?
you guys put us on. I thought it was ATF, but I said, oh, that isn't.
Yeah. So the reason that we've gotten back around to that is, we probably need to start making that discussion around, the discussion we had at town meeting around the working agreement. And I don't know what it looks like, Leo, what you're thinking or what makes sense for you or makes sense for both groups on how you want to do that. But we gotta do something, otherwise time's gonna tick
Well, we're
by.
building the budget in the next 3 months, for the next fiscal year will be in the next 2 months. So that'll give us an idea there. I mean, basically, we've been following the same structure for quite a while. We just got the numbers on scholarships, roughly for the next 5, we can estimate in the next 3 years. I don't think we can be very accurate out more than 3, but because you don't know who goes, but we can assume, at least probably a 3-year window. We could work at making a 3-year budget, that would give us at least some idea. And then look at where that would put us. Same thing for some type of realistic return on our investments. This last year has been real good, the year before was real bad, so, kind of, I mean, if we use, the professionals, they would say, what, 8%, maybe 8, 9, but, that's being almost all in the market, not doing, bonds. But if we continue to see bond rates as high as they are, we might look to rebalance anyway. And we talk to LPL usually 6 months, we try it again. And so that would be on the agenda. It was discussed some this last time to balance things back out, but that of course can hurt your overall return, maybe, but it depends on what the market does, but maybe it's time for us to. And when it was 2%, it was really not worth, allocating. I'm not sure how the town allocates their funds. I know there's a lot of limitations, but what is the kind of the goal for the town to get a return on their investments? Do you have an idea, or has a person told you, or?
There's David.
He heard it.
Perked me up right there, 7.5%. Long term, very long term.
Right, so being with stocks, that's what I would say, probably 9, you know, so we could, I think we could do something in the next few months, because by the end of July, we should be able to have at least, we could, you know, make up a Mach 3-year type of cash flow and see what, you know, where that would, you know, start us, and, you know, or where it gets us to. And then within that, we can, you know, I mean, you just keep extrapolating out what you think, you know, it's gonna be, you know, and if you look at like this revenue, you know, it depends on what type of, revenue you expect to receive in that 3-year window, but at least, I mean, I know we can be pretty accurate within the 3-year, because if you look back, we're pretty stable, you know, with what we do, so.
So what I was hearing for feedback, first of all, thank you. I think we did a very good job in the last year communicating
Right,
pretty well between the boards, the 2 boards, and I think that we did a really nice job at town meeting this year. Speaking the same language, going in the same direction.
right,
And I think a lot of people were appreciative of that. I got a lot of good feedback from that. I don't know if you did, that folks were fun, good to see that. Some of the feedback that I also heard, and I'm sure you did too, was that some folks want to see some more concrete. You know, can we build a roadmap together to achieve whatever the goal is? And start to potentially memorialize those things in a memorandum of understanding or something that gives us a roadmap. Kind of going back to what we talked about earlier in the meeting around, you know, this isn't about Leo or Matt, Matt. It's about, you know, 2 town groups that share the same common interest. And, you know, when the board all changes over, that doesn't. You know,
Right.
that's a standing situation that the board can certainly change, but it would take a process to change that, and it wouldn't be a strong opinion at this table or your table that could, you know, easily get that off the tracks. And so I think that's where we gotta try to get to this year in some sort of an understanding. And we've had those discussions around what the cap, not cap, but you know, the goal that you guys are setting. 2.1, 2.2, whatever it was, million. And what's the current strategy to get there, whether it's, you know, fund it totally in 1 year or fund it out over 3 years or whatever, watching the markets the whole time. So from my perspective, sitting on the select board, even though we share the goal, we share it a little differently, right? I'm always trying to safeguard the town money and try to say, well, you can't just have it all.
right,
And you're not asking for that, but you know, that's just sort of what, and you're the opposite of that. You're trying to say there is certain things that we think and feel strongly that we'd like to have for funding. And we're not there yet. And so I can agree to that. I think Gary doesn't disagree with that.
No, we're all, you know, for the same goal, for sure.
Yeah. And so I think that that's the step we've got to take. And I think if we could do that this year, and that's why you're on the agenda now, it gives us that 4 or 5 months. Because when this group gets to December, Matt gets angry. It's just a lot. It's overwhelming. It can become overwhelming for the board to try to get all of those budgets and the town report done, and then to try to finalize certain other things, it becomes.
Can I, from the board standpoint, or even the town standpoint, I mean, do they see, and I don't have an issue either way, okay? Do we stay in the lanes that we've created over the last 20 years, pretty close? Do we stay in those lanes of education, you know, charitable help, you know, the school, you know, scholarship? Or is the lane potentially does the town want to make the lane wider? With dealing with more like, things like, because at the town meeting, I talked to the other group there that you got, that, trying to make us more resilient. Community for flooding, I think.
Community action.
Yes, and so do we become a funding source for something of that nature, or is it gonna be through the, directly through the town? Those are the type of intangibles that do have an impact. If that's something that we see as a town that we wanna use the foundation that way, I'm not suggesting either way. I'm just saying that would be a monkey wrench in it if that type of funding. I do know, talking with the lady is very enlightening, and then talking with Mark on as well, that because of the funding, the amount of money we have as a town, we have an opportunity to create a much more resilient town than, say, other towns, because we do have some, we have funding. Whether, Mike had mentioned something about, having everybody have a generator. I don't think that would quite work, because you wouldn't know if they still had it, but if you bought them one or whatever, but do we have like 6 or 7 or 8 that that can be used in an emergency, so that people can, like if there's a bad snowstorm and people have oxygen and they need electricity, or do they have it or not, that was a lot of what this lady was talking about, and I hadn't really even thought of it. And so I kind of, and when Mike mentioned it as well, I'm like, oh, that's way beyond a lot of funding structure that we have. And even our expertise and our people to manage that type of situation. So
currently, the town foundation has rules that you govern yourself by, and you alone can adjust those rules
yes,
as a group.
yeah, our filing for our nonprofit thing is pretty broad.
It's pretty loose.
Yes, it's basically the municipal one.
I don't know that you want us in
What's that?
there. I don't know that you would want the select board helping you think through that.
Well, not necessarily think through it, but there has been discussions here before about seeing if the foundation will take this on or take that on, whether it's the
Okay.
health club, that was one of the ideas.
That's a good idea, by the
Well, I
way.
know, but then there was another one, the trouble is, we don't have the administrative structure really to handle that type of paperwork and verification and stuff. Now, does it mean that we want to, I'm not opposed to either direction, I think we can manage it either way. But we don't have the resources in place right now to take on things of that nature. We have to verify, do little, we do it, at our meeting. But that's, but we're only talking very few type, maybe 10, 12, no, more than, 5, 6, 7 grant requests. And then, of course, we have subcommittees for our scholarship and.
So this is just my opinion. We would have to do a lot of discussion on all that. But my opinion is it wouldn't be in the best interest of all the residents of the town to begin to think about the town foundation taking over any of the governance of town business.
Right.
That's to me, that's just,
That's what I agree.
that's a select boards.
Yeah, you've got all the resources.
Emergency management directors,
Right.
there's positionally speaking, again, going back again, positionally speaking, the buck stops at certain spots. The town is fortunate and has gotten itself a town foundation. And I think that's a good spot to keep it.
I agree, that's what I just wanted to make sure
Yeah,
that we don't get into 4 years.
yeah,
We get, blindsided.
yeah.
And then everyone says,
No.
well, you guys said you only needed this much money, and then all of a sudden, we've got this new type of thing that's been put upon us,
Right.
and.
And I think that's part of that bigger discussion where we're talking about, memorandums of understanding, right? It's, that's a self-imposed limit. You could say 10 million.
Right.
that's the conversation that has to keep coming back in front of the town at town meeting, so that people can get a really good understanding and guide us how they want their money spent.
Mhm.
And there's two sides of every story, right? Some people are gonna say none, some people are gonna say the end of there is no limit, right? And everywhere in between, but I think
What I just like
sensibly,
it though, I mean, the last 20 years, we've stayed pretty narrow we've stayed in our lane. And
Yeah.
nobody's really pushed us too much not to.
well, it doesn't
stay in
impact
our lane.
anybody's taxes yet, and
Right,
so it doesn't matter yet.
right.
But that's the
Well, in
conversation.
general, right, that's the whole town, right?
Right, that's the general,
Well, no, but
just
I'm saying, even though we've had all this money and everything, we haven't had people come and say, well, you should be supporting this, and you should be supporting. We at
Okay.
least haven't had that is what I'm getting at. We haven't had
right,
these outside influences asking for, I mean, the boat asked us for some money, you know, but then of course we said that had nothing to do with what we do,
yeah,
you know. But I think on the most part, we've, you know, started this, so I think looking out into the future should be pretty straightforward.
all right. So what should we do? How should we,
Well, can we
How-
start with a 3-year, at least for the next few months, and then at least, and then get that to you guys? And then, you
a
know,
3-year budget, you mean?
yeah, 3-year budget and, we have to extrapolate some type of revenue off of our, return
Yeah.
off of our investments.
Yeah,
So that we could say, okay, this is where our cash flow would be, and that would be absolutely, then we would have the discussion of how, where would that put us? If we got absolutely no more funding, where would it put us in the 3-year window? And then if we did it, 250 or 300, because then you have to start dropping in, if this is 0, then this is where you'll be, and say 1.7, okay? But then in 3 years, where I say 1.7, 1.8 with no new monies, okay? So then we say, okay, if we ask for 200 for each of those 3 years, would be say, at 2 million. If we ask for 300 for each of those years, then we would be at 2.2 or something. That's what the 3-year window. Do, and give us, and then if it looked like that number was just way too big,
I would not wanna see you get yourself painted into a corner. Just like I wouldn't wanna get painted into a corner. So I think we could draft something that has some expectations, but aren't,
right, yeah, they're super hard and fast, because there's a lot of.
right, so, and it would be, memorializing a memorandum of understanding between the two boards around, here's the 2024, 2025. Here's our goals today. Our goals today is to achieve a level of funding for the foundation at
Okay,
$2.1 million. And that money to be held by, and, blah, 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 sort of vague language. Budget a part of that so that people can see, that doesn't mean you spend $1 million a year. You're going towards self-sustaining. And I think if we just did that and we can do a few drafts, it needs to fit for both of us, but I don't think we need to try to put you in a place that people can say, you said it was only ever gonna be,
right,
you gotta be more fluid and have more ability to have a conversation every year around, it's working or it's not working. That's why it's not a hard.
Your suggestion is that we would have, at least in writing, that our goal is to have a dialogue between both boards at least once a year.
Absolutely, that'd be part of that.
Right, that makes sense.
Yeah, and it probably should have some specificity to that, even like, you guys have an annual,
Yeah, we're working on getting it, it's in June.
so maybe after that, so every year, I mean, we're brainstorming right now, I don't wanna do that tonight.
Right.
So like, each August, the boards will meet together and discuss their memorandum of understanding and refresh and update it, just like what we do with directives or policies every year.
Right,
Be the same sort of thing, and then it's just, you're all moving in the same direction, there's people.
well, like I said, as both boards change, it would be good to not be so independent, right? We're independent, but we could at least, we both mutually, so that we work for the people of Coventry.
Yeah,
And so.
Yeah.
We should be able to get on the same page.
yeah, and you know, we shouldn't agree on everything. That's not our jobs to agree on everything. Our jobs are to come out in the best interest. You know, of everybody, and there's give and take on everything. So,
So, yeah, so to, I mean, to resolve something tonight, yeah, why don't we try to see that we can, after our annual meeting,
okay,
we'll bring forward at least a 3-year plan of what we're looking like. We can have, you know, an informational or whatever discussion,
yeah,
and if there's some type of wording or something that you know, Matt, you know, or something, you know, we could work it out between now and then.
one of us could come to one of those meetings. We've done that
Well,
before.
hopefully, yeah, everybody comes to the annual meeting, hopefully all you guys, 'cause
No, I mean the one after that, you know,
Oh, okay,
to get the first draft done for the rest of the group.
right.
Um,
'Cause a lot of people seem to forget that they're all voting members of the, you know, of the foundation.
Right.
We need, it's been so tough, we've barely had, 22 people, I think, at our meeting last year, we had food and everything.
yeah,
It's really, and we send out postcards to every single person.
Yeah.
On the mailing list for it, and it's been really hard to get humans to come out.
Yeah.
And, you know, members to come and vote, so.
I hear you. All right, I think that's progress, so we'll keep an eye on that date, and, you know, you guys are, pick up the phone, you know, give me a holler and remind me what's going on, and
Yeah, well, after, you know, I mean, we assume that we get voted back in, but you always can't, you know, there's an annual meeting.
or is that the east side?
Well, that's what we're working on, still trying to figure out where we're gonna do it, depending, you know, in the past it was the east side.
Open bar?
Yeah,
Okay, good.
as long
I'll
as
be
you
there.
get big apple juice and water.
Well, look at that.
Well, would you or one of you or Dan be able to go to those meetings, or Carrie's already there?
As long as, well, technically, as long, you can have two people of the same board at a meeting, as long as they're not discussing anything pertaining to the town. The minute that they two sit down together and start talking a town issue, that is a town meeting. But it's no different than being at a concert or anything else. If they both have kids at the school and they're there in a concert, you can, it's statute, you're allowed to. As long as you do not discuss town business.
But this is sort of,
This is gonna.
This is- this is kind of our business.
Carrie will be your representative, because she's,
You know, it's just-
so she's gonna be there anyway,
Foundation,
right? She can,
Yeah, if none
you
of
tell her
the-
what to talk.
none of the
she can bring it
discussion.
back to you. Right, she's, we already, I forgot, yeah, we have a cross member, right?
So
I need your seat right now.
what's that?
I need his seat.
Well, technically, when you come to our meeting, like the annual meeting is okay, but when you come to our meeting, then technically Carrie has to recuse herself and not be a part of the discussion. And so it's just you with the remaining of the board members.
It's almost the same.
So,
Yeah.
You notice I haven't said much.
well, I mean, so it's the same thing, right?
Yeah.
So she probably
Yeah.
shouldn't even be here today.
There's no decisions being made, so.
Yeah.
So. What are you gonna do? Are you gonna stay? Is your desire to stay a member of the foundation while you're a select person?
It is, yeah.
Hmm,
Mark was,
That could be a problem,
I
huh?
was on their board for 12 years, I think.
But what decision are you making, though?
There's nothing there.
There's nothing that the select board decides on until town meeting.
The memorandum or anything that the boards would bring up to make an agreement between them two is what it is.
Carrie would just-
Right, and that's what we're looking at.
All right, well. Uh. I can see that going sideways in a couple different ways.
say that you're planning on being an our meeting, then just a special meeting. At the exact same time, exact same place,
That's the way to do it.
and just like
Do
Coventry
your
Town
meetings at the
Council.
same time.
Yeah,
Okay, so I have to put my hat on for defense again, right? So I don't know about, I would have to educate myself on conflicts of interest. And so I don't know, so you wanna keep doing that?
Mhm.
So have you spent any time with that one yet? Have you looked at the conflicts and all that?
Not a whole lot.
Okay,
I thought about calling Vermont Leagues of City and Towns too.
that would be a
you know,
good
just
idea.
mentioned that Mark Hawk was on
I think they'll
the
say it's
select
not-
board and the town foundation for 12 years.
And from the time it was founded for a long time, if you look back at the minute, I forget exactly when he got done, but he was on it for a long time.
I know that, and I think there were others too, but that doesn't mean it was right.
I don't think VLCT will say it'll be wrong, but what you ask them is, how do you do it with the meetings? That
Yeah.
way when there's a decision being made between the select board and.
And it impacts, right, one or the other.
So the VLCT is not gonna know anything about the Coventry Town Foundation.
No, but they.
It's unique to our
Yeah.
town.
It's just the two entities.
So you would have to have a whole lot of education for them on what that foundation does, what your participation does
Brian.
for making, this is gonna be our legal.
But
And I say
Yeah.
we can actually put it through our legal too, as far as asking,
You probably wouldn't do that.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't see it impacting you. Those legal responsibilities are gonna be totally different. Right? I mean, what you're responsible and accountable for and versus what a select person for the town is responsible and accountable for are night and day.
Oh, true, but I think it should still be the same scenario, besides what your attorney says and what our attorney says with her being in that spot on both sides.
Yeah,
Should be the same outcome.
so.
Talk to people and we'll come back to it.
Yep, come back to you. All right, next up, we have apparel impact.
That's me.
Leo.
Yes, thanks, Leo. Thanks for coming. Thank you, Deb.
So that's me. Apparel Impact is a company out of New Hampshire.
Like, what the heck is the barrel impact?
It's,
Yeah.
yeah, we're gonna have a dress code,
the meeting,
tank tops and shorts for everybody.
right,
So they're a company, they have like, they're like a mailbox. They're like a big bin that looks like a mailbox and you bring and you recycle clothes. So instead of throwing stuff away, and we don't have, what are they called? The Goodwill and that type of stuff near here. The closest ones are in Lindenville. So when I'm down there, I'll bring stuff and put it in and then, I mean, they're a for-profit business, but it sounds like they do a lot of good. You know, they have, he sent me a letter. They have community outreach programs. They provide assistance for those in need. They collaborate with clothing graders, nonprofit thrift stores, consignment shops. Just all their stuff, they give a lot. It's a family owned. He's a veteran, so they do a lot with the VA. So
Nothing.
yeah, well, the first thing I thought was, that's probably something we could sponsor.
It is.
So what is?
So these bins, they bring them, they set them, they empty them at least once a week, if not once a day, depends on how busy, how full they are, how many, where I go in Lindenville, there's probably like 8 of them. So it's gonna be on a major highway, so it'd either have to be like Lady Bird Park. Is that what it's called? Lady Bird Park, or like up by the town garage, up there on 14. Something to that effect. I was thinking like by the town garage, just backed up to them and the guys would just have to plow around them in the winter type of deal. But they want them on a major throughway. It costs nothing to the town. They just looking for places to put them.
You know what happened to the ones before that we used to have in this area?
I have no idea. Everything for these stays in like New England, where I think those went like out of the country.
Well, from what I understood, that they pulled those out of the area because the people were putting too much trash in.
Mm,
Yeah.
That's what happened up here,
mhm.
so I don't know if they'll
They
run into
were
that.
hard to replace that one.
Yeah,
And it floods.
Yeah.
Yes.
yeah, I don't know, as long, you know, if it, you know, that they may run into that, but that's what happened with the yellow ones that used to be in this area. They were getting too much trash in them, so they pulled
Mhm. And I guess that would be them if they find that there's a lot of trash,
them.
then they would choose to
They
pull
didn't
them.
need permission to put it on town property, is how.
So why the town? Why?
Oh, it can be anybody. I mean, it could be Martha's Diner. It's
Yeah.
just something I've been putting them down there and wish they were here, so I reached out to the guy.
School board,
Yeah, that's another place they could go. They
Yeah,
could,
you don't-
they could go at the school.
So are you trying to meet the demand that people have clothing they want to wear, but don't want to travel very far?
Right. Yeah, they take clothes, they take shoes, purses, scarves. I think I have a list.
So.
I need to think like rugs and.
Yeah.
Anything textile.
I don't usually love taking responsibility for the town. On things that can be done somewhere else. Because it's inevitable, right? Someone's gonna run off of that thing, or they're gonna run it over. They take all our road signs now. They're gonna
Just bought a whole-
be a hair of a needle in it, right? I mean, you're gonna have issues.
that would why we actually think it's the school.
That's why I wouldn't stay away from the school.
Yeah.
Oh,
The dumpster doesn't get.
So, I wonder if,
And if it doesn't work, then
I wonder if lawyers would. Be interested. In either of their business spots.
yeah, I don't
I
know.
just worry about the storage sheds. Somebody goes and cleans theirs out and just takes their stuff and just free garbage.
well, that is the problem they've had in the area,
Yeah.
but again, that would be this company's job
Yeah.
to figure it out.
Mhm. And they may decide it's not working.
Does it need to be year round? Could it be a seasonal thing?
Yeah, I'd say probably year round.
And so what's your pitch? What's the,
I just think it'd be
I
good
mean,
for the
what's-
community. I know a lot of people are always, I work in the community and a lot of people are looking for places to
so how big has it
put
been?
stuff. They're,
Are they bolted down? I mean, who does all
yeah,
the?
they do all that. I don't know that I noticed. I almost feel like they were like on the cement. And they are, I mean, they're good size. Standing up, it's the hole like this and I don't know if any of it.
Waterproof, they're weatherproof, they're outdoor things.
They're outdoor things, yeah, it was a good size bin, looks like a big old mailbox, but they're white.
And there's no paperwork to this? No
I
contracts, there's no,
don't believe so, I can double check.
Yeah.
We can put it in and leave it and try it, and if it doesn't work, they take it out, if that's the case.
if they're just looking for permission
Mhm.
to use a place on town Coventry's soil, that's one thing. But to take any liability, I don't know.
Easy and responsible free.
And it's just, you're gonna get, there's liability to that. You're drawing people in, onto the grounds for something, you don't wanna be kind of careful on that.
That's the bin. Well, it looks like it's just sat there. It doesn't look like it's,
So,
but it's because it's definitely taller than I am.
yeah. So I guess you'd have to do some homework on that stuff.
Mhm.
Um, and figure some of that stuff out, like, what are they actually looking for?
Mhm.
Um, and then we would have to discuss the whole liability thing. What we're willing to risk.
Mhm.
Lady Bird Park's just floods.
Mhm.
You're not gonna want that.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that.
You're not gonna want it down there. And maybe just, honestly, I mean, maybe the diner.
It's not too much fire room there. The
She
Royals would
floods
be
too
better.
sometimes.
Huh?
She floods too sometimes.
I mean, Royals would be one of the better spots,
Mhm.
just because a lot of in and out space and stuff.
They're up there.
Might just ask them.
Mhm.
Right, that would
Mhm.
be. Because if you go on
They've
the
got
town
lighting.
property, all you've got is where the big plow is, right on the corner there.
Yeah,
Is
yeah,
that
you
really
don't wanna
the
draw them
one?
up in beyond that.
No,
Not ready for.
Yeah.
Bill doesn't want that across his house.
No, that's what I was gonna say.
That would definitely be a place that it would get
Yes.
probably a lot of stuff thrown into it.
Yeah, it's surprising they want to be right on the main road, because really the best place for that, for the town of Coventry, is at the Waste USA
I was just gonna
location.
say at the-
And on the landfill, where you already have to sort it, it'd be nice if you could bring some poles and throw them in.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had actually thought of them, but I
And it's
weren't.
Coventry residents, but if those people, they want big flow of stuff.
Mhm.
That's
The risk they take,
Mhm.
is much higher, they're gonna get trash. Why would I throw trash in that if I'm at the dump already, I could throw it over
Mhm.
here?
Well, there's no recycling and there's
Tricia?
trash.
Tricia,
Trash.
office manager, I'll start with her.
The only
Good
downfall
idea.
would be is only when they're opening.
Very good idea.
Yeah.
Good job, Leon.
Unless they put on the.
So why don't you come to more meetings if you got good ideas?
I listened to them.
Oh. All right, good. So let's do that. Let's
Okay.
see what options you got.
I'd just like to see one in the town somewhere.
Yeah.
Would be great.
Okay, chlorine tank and sprayer. One's kind of changed a little bit. From when I talked to Nathan earlier last week, so we're gonna do, he's just looking for an approval to purchase up to 20,000 gallons of chlorine. And distribute it with his current sprayer.
Chloride.
Yeah.
Chloride.
Yeah, there's been discussions back and forth, the mag versus the
Yeah.
chloride versus leasing equipment, buying equipment. The sprayer they use is about.
It's
Had
about
it.
done, but he thinks he can get another year out of it if he has to, and I think that's what he recommends now that he's looked at it a little bit more.
Yeah.
He's got a little bit more homework to do, so.
So he's asking us to get involved at this juncture because the amount of money
Yeah,
for engaging in that chloride
Yeah.
is beyond it's about just over $1 a gallon, I think.
yeah.
So,
17.
Yeah.
Or something like that, and he asked because he anticipates needing to apply some write-offs, so.
now we've been, reducing each year, more tire,
I was gonna
less
say,
summer
what do-
stuff.
What do we
That
have?
was part of the homework thing, he's thinking down the road, we're not gonna need this amount,
Right,
but
even this year, right? Lane is gonna be done and,
Glen Road,
where?
Glen,
Yeah, Glenn. So you might have to hit them once,
right,
but not as much, so.
yeah.
Why don't we do dollar amount and not a gallon amount?
Sure.
And try to keep him in that budget, and then if we get in trouble, we can always
Yep,
tweak that and use his own equipment,
I
so.
was gonna say, if he can keep the equipment running, because we may not need it in a year.
right, yep,
That's an old,
it's old, yeah.
and it really isn't good for our equipment either, because it
uses.
leaks
Yeah, it
and-
leaks, and it uses more than it should.
yeah, it's not a good system, so he's gonna probably still look at
He is, but he wasn't ready to, for you guys. to-
What he wants is a tank that has pressure.
Yeah.
That also can be multi-purpose, and they can wash bridges, and they can do a bunch of that stuff that they can't do right now with the same piece of equipment. And so that's sensible, even if we're gonna get out of the chloride business, but. So I'd motion to approve up to $20,000 toward chloride this summer.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Good. All right, next up, we have road department gravel. This also coming from the road foreman, he's got a contract here for screen gravel from Kingdom Gravel and Aggregate. He found a better price than what we were currently paying those ones to do it, and Nathan recommends that we go with these guys.
so did you say it was right now
Those ones.
is $8?
Yeah, I can't remember the exact number, but it was more than what that is,
Mhm.
according to Nathan's research.
That's for pulling out of our pit. Or is that getting it from that?
So for years, the town has been getting its sand, winter sand, up in the Goslin pit in Derby.
Yeah.
That's Derby, right by the golf course. So one, Nathan having done some work here with Kingdom, the yardage per, the cost per yard is more expensive there than it is to screen our own
Yeah.
material that we own.
Just what I thought we.
Two, they spend about a month of 2 trucks
Right.
running from our pit to Derby and back. And so the cost of the fuel and the man time is like, it made me think the other day, well, how did we get here? You know, why weren't we thinking this way? And
I know
it almost seems too good to be true, but.
I know that came from. The Kingdom's got crush it.
So Kingdom that's a different process. So last year, the town ran out of crushed gravel. And in a pinch, we dug and dug and dug and found a new vein of gravel over there, and so we got enough crushed. When they were there, they began those conversations, I think. And so what this is screening out your winter sand and all of the material that's larger than that, you then have ready for your crushing, which is gonna give you a cheaper, better crushed material going forward. It's a win-win-win all the way around, and it's gonna save a pile of money.
So it'll be using the town's ground.
Yeah, yeah.
But we don't have.
We've been using our own gravel, we haven't been using our own sand.
Oh.
Because, you know, we don't have a sand pit that's, you know, really fine, just pure sand. It's more of
But
a,
you can use gravel as long as you speed it down.
and that's what this is gonna do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cause Irisburg's always got, yeah.
Exactly.
you know.
So Nathan did a really good job. He did his homework. He's talked to a lot of people. It's gonna save you a lot of time and a lot of time that, money, I mean, and a lot of time you're not seeing, we're not seeing. Those trucks are.
Maintenance and
Yeah.
wear.
Yeah. So, what is, you need us to do, Matt?
You just sign that and then make a motion.
You just need us to,
So if we're getting 4
Yeah.
yards and then this mobilization charge, I don't know what that is.
so they charge to move all that equipment.
To come here, got it.
And so, oftentimes if they're, I think they're going to Newport Center, right, Matt?
Yep.
And so they're gonna cut you a deal
And do
because they're
everything while
going
you're
by
in town.
anyway. Yeah,
Yep.
they're just up the road to their pit or whatever pit they're using. The screening
On our
price.
property.
This price is subject to change, should be mobilization.
Should be like
charge
2 miles apart.
less than
Yeah, we're going right up the Undertaker, probably for the
10,000.
worst time.
I don't know that you need much of a motion on this.
Okay, just sign it then.
No.
Yeah, because it's a,
Contract.
yeah,
Okay. Very good.
So 5% is put from the.
Is that what you're-
Life science.
I also need you to sign that.
Oh, I was wondering.
Yeah.
I thought.
No.
Where it says select your chair.
oh, I've already seen that, right?
Mhm, yeah,
Yes.
we got it in an email.
We got it.
Yeah.
So everything's,
All right, next up, we have center line painting. This was brought back from previous meeting. I spoke with, the V-Trans people. And they said to use these guys. And get in line, because if you don't get in line early, they end up doing it late, and it doesn't stay on, so. I recommend that we accept this and tell them that we want to be on the list, and as soon as our roads get paved, that we get straight, so that.
That's for the ones that the state doesn't cover.
Yeah, this will be for Airport Road, after they put the top coat on, and that section of Pine Hill that we did last year. Top coat last year.
which roads?
Airport Road, after they top coat it, and then,
So just this side.
yeah, and the
So
section
this-
of Pine Hill that we top coated last year. Because we won't, because we're base coating Lane and Glen Roads, we won't do either one of those until next year after we top coat them.
And everything else is good. We're good everywhere
Well,
else.
Alderbrook's not good.
I was gonna say-
That's a state,
That's a state-
that's a state job.
Oh, okay.
We have to pay this. These are class 3 roads, we have to pay for this, so what do you want to sign that?
Gotcha. Matt, read my email.
I will, yeah.
Were you here for this conversation?
How much is that one?
I,
About
Before.
yeah, I think I was,
We pushed
yes,
it back
yep,
to Matt.
That's-
yes, yes,
Because we only had one.
one, yeah.
And he's found out, well, you basically.
And then
don't
it's
like
gone.
all
Mhm,
these. That's
yes,
the
yep.
state tells us it's for doing.
Well, they probably are, they're probably make.
So-
Probably.
Guys remember that when we're creating our budget, Matt, we gotta remember that when we're creating our budget, we've gotta start
Figure that in.
putting a special line,
Yep.
a standalone line inside the road budget for all this.
And yeah, and I've contacted V-Trans about Alderbrook Road, they're aware of it, and, but, you know, if the state does it, when the state wants to do it.
They'll probably do it when they do 14. I see all the state stuff ready for it, but that'll happen probably end of some.
Yeah.
I'm actually trying to figure out what the state's were.
You're supposed to swear
Right.
this.
Thought they were still.
Yeah, except
But
it's
then you see
a
the.
proposal.
So yeah, once we go there, heating it on the boat, just.
But doesn't that read this in the Bible?
First, yeah, that's
Just on that, just on the call.
That's a new there, where they put the new pavement. Is the next
They haven't
one
done the
there?
rest of it.
Right?
Mhm.
Perfect, there, you can see great.
Oh, I know.
Right, so that's.
I guess I've never noticed prior to or after.
Well, it's not line, but.
We'll do that one.
I think it was last line, but
Even though you don't need to, cause it's,
Mhm.
got it was like.
Matt, we'll motion that one.
Okay, go ahead.
Make a motion to accept L&D Safety Marking Corporation for their estimated total of $6,900 for line striping.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay, next up is the municipal energy something grant. Yeah, municipal energy, I don't know, whatever. It's a grant the town got for $4,000 to help with our energy audits and upgrading the lighting, heating at our town facilities and buildings.
So we already have it.
I think so. David, didn't you say we got that money today?
Now he's asleep.
Yep, it arrived today.
Right today. Great.
So,
Yeah, we got that too, I think, right? Yes.
so. That's This, okay, that's the MERV.
Mhm.
The lighting's been done in the doctors, I know it's usually.
So what we have to do is, join these two issues up, right? We just had, Efficiency Vermont. Come to all.
Yeah, whoever did, yeah. I
Come to
think
all three buildings.
Yeah. You had those, you guys saw those reports,
We,
right?
we saw
They're
those,
lengthy.
and so we should apply that money toward those recommended energy saving projects.
So there were some easy-ish.
Yeah.
I mean, caulking and
Yeah.
weather stripping and.
Yep, and they're not horribly expensive. So if we applied this, I think we just have to put that back on the next meeting agenda,
Okay.
resend us those three building. Cause I've already lost it, I could probably go back and find it, but just resend those as the next one.
Yep.
And we would have to do a
So-
little more homework than normal and look in there so we can discuss what we want to. And we wouldn't have to do it all in one meeting, but we
Mhm.
could start saying, maybe we could do one building
Mhm.
each time. That might be a better way to do it.
Because this one had like where the walls join and the ceiling joins the wall and.
Some things
It was like
they don't
copper.
recommend you do anything. Some is,
Yeah, you should do
easy.
this.
Yeah. And so why don't we marry those up?
They were
then-
good, I thought they were good reports.
Yeah, and so you and David have been working on getting an accounting sheet of all our grants.
Yep.
So that's gonna be another one.
Mhm.
So you're gonna put that on there, and then when we expend it,
Yep.
it's done.
It's gone,
But we should, be seeing that all the time and.
right, and I have to keep track of it, because I have to report everything.
Right,
back to
so
these
you're
people.
gonna like it better when you see it all the
Right,
time,
yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah, because they need the receipts and everything,
Okay.
whatever we spend that money on, they gotta make sure that it's
All right,
stuff we should.
so I don't know where you guys are at with that, but that's probably,
We're really close, right, Dave?
Who does that type of work on on the buildings?
Any kind of contractor.
So you just put it up.
Yeah, Jim Cobb's, he's been in a couple times and looked at it with some people
Mhm.
and so.
So there's nothing for us to do tonight, decision making, right, on this
Nope.
grant. We've already got the grant, it's sitting there. David's gonna account for it. We gotta get it on that sheet, get that sheet done.
Mhm.
What building do you wanna start with? Do you care? You wanna start with this one?
Yep.
Okay, so next meeting, send us that sooner than later, so we can reread it.
Okay.
And we'll plow through it. This building didn't have a lot in there, I don't think.
This one should be easy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Shoot it.
Do you, but to have somebody do this, the works that you're talking about, do you guys have to do bids and all that? Or?
You never really have to, but we're gonna figure that out. I almost think that didn't they have recommended contractors for those different
They
projects?
did,
Yeah,
yeah.
so it's, you can literally pick up a phone, call that number and have them here and that price, they're working.
Yeah, the same people that
Talk
do the
with them.
reports, it says right at the end, if you decide to do any of this stuff, give us a call.
Yeah, it's,
Was there pricing in the reports? Was the price?
yeah, oh, yeah,
Yeah,
Well, the thing is a lot of the stuff you can't like do yourself. You have to have a
we're not doing it
service
ourselves.
provider. Right, you can't ever anyway.
No. It's, I just had the firm on top of my,
Dubois King.
yeah, Dubois and King.
All right, any other business tonight? Good.
Just Mr. Dawson and town letters on the next agenda.
Yep, I got that, Deb.
Okay.
Okay, so now you have one set of minutes to approve, since Dan's not here, so you can't do the special town minutes, and you can do the last board meeting, which is April 17th, because you both were here.
I read it. I thought it looked good. This. Should the attorney be listed other than just in the? Or is it who's here when we start the meeting? Cause he's not listed here.
Yeah. Oh, dogs, right, yeah,
Yeah.
dogs. Got it.
Yeah, I gotta send you mine.
So you,
We just did the same thing.
So that's
Just
gonna be-
your cash.
I have a new puppy, so I'm not late, but
No,
and I don't know if that would need to be part of the motion either, but the down investment policy, there was a date on there, Matt, for, and that didn't happen.
Right, yeah.
So does that need to be clarified in the motion? Or no,
No, I can just.
Just add it.
Yeah, I can just add it.
Catch it the next time.
Yep.
And do you know what that's all about? Were you,
yeah,
None
that
of those
was,
discussions?
yeah, they were supposed to meet with
so Dan? And
Matt,
Yeah.
we're supposed to meet with.
Argon, they had a date, Dan was offered his time to get his head around, you know, all those new investment
Mhm.
parts,
Yes,
so. Okay,
and then you guys did not meet. Is that what you just said?
No, yeah, he had a medical emergency, had to have surgery and couldn't drive, so.
Oh.
Rescheduled.
Who had the surgery?
So,
Oh,
and his, you know, he offered to do it over Zoom, but I wanted to do face-to-face meetings, so I just said, let me know when
mhm.
when you're able, healthy, and we'll do it then. So that's the kind of guys we are.
right. So I would motion to accept the minutes of the select board meeting, Town of Coventry, of Wednesday, April 17, 2024, as written. And with one adjustment, to add the town attorney as a town official present.
Second,
All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
All right, got the warrants there.
Have they changed since Thursday? I'm assuming
No,
not.
No, that's the same ones we looked at on Thursday.
This is. Of course, you don't
Thank you.
use it.
Have you looked at them?
I always do.
Mhm.
Deb yells at me.
more like.
Well, somebody's got to, right? Yeah,
Get my aggression out, right?
that's right, whatever it takes. Call him or I'll yell at him. You know, that one there, I actually was gonna ask some follow-up questions and I forgot to make that call.
Which one?
So Monahan's $90 bill,
Mhm.
telephone conference with assessor Matt Podesta regarding the interpretation of settlement agreement with Casella.
Mhm. He wanted to make sure that that agreement whether it included all the surrounding properties or didn't include all the surrounding properties. He needed clarification on that, because the way the thing's worded, it doesn't really, it's pretty vague. So he had to call Brian to make sure, is this number including, is it just the dump, or is it the dump and all buildings around it? You know, the farm that they own, the houses they own, what does this number represent? And he needed that answer that day. So that's why he called Brian.
Excellent response. That makes sense.
That was excellent. Fast.
All right, thank you, Matt. These GoDaddy things, those never end, huh? Is that
Those are emails.
huh?
Those are emails, which we should probably create a new email from the cemetery,
Yep,
please.
yep, we can do that.
Okay,
Me and David can do that.
okay.
Fix
So
mine.
Yep, experience.
we should get to a place where we don't get these every month though, right?
Yeah, once a year. Those are once a year.
Yeah,
But we
but
have, what, 15 different emails, 12 different emails?
Yeah, I think.
so we've only been getting them because we keep adjusting ourselves.
No. Because they're renewing every single year. We have added some new ones.
But they
Right.
probably don't all renew at the same time because you don't add them at the same
That's
time.
the question.
Correct,
Gotcha.
yes. Based on when you add them.
And Zoom, is that
That's this.
an annual?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you rather say that was monthly?
Nope. That's the first time I've seen it.
Because that'd be expensive.
That's why I was wondering, is it
No, that's
something that
gonna
we
be
did
a lot.
or?
Because you've been on this board for over a year.
It's the first time I noticed it. Let's put it that way.
Well, I think the last time we made it was based on the credit card. I think now we just have it,
Yeah,
Auto
and we did
deducted.
pay for it with a credit card, so we probably just saw it as a credit card
Yeah.
purchase.
So we'll give you partial credit.
There's gosh, you took a little off for you.
I would motion to accept the warrants as provided.
Second,
All in favor?
I,
Alright. Hold it, Matt.
Okay,
I got one little thing to add in that I've been thinking about.
go ahead.
It's been brought up here a couple times and I sent it there. Hopefully. I've thought for some time that it seems like we're falling behind a little bit on greater cemetery. I shouldn't say it that way, but in fencing, stone cleaning. Okay, and so I wanna like say. I don't know what that looks like or how we have that conversation, and it's not built into our current budget. But I think that the newly formed group, maybe should come here. Get invited for that conversation. As a group.
Yep.
And we as a group and discuss what we would support or not support. For submittal before the town next. Which is what we did so good at this year. We put all those biggies in front of the town, which we have not been doing for a long time, so that we can have dialogue and banter it back and forth. This would be another one that. Again, I hear a lot of people, I recognize it, you know, there's big old trees that do have to come down, there's an expense to that. There's fencing that's been broken or dilapidated for 50 years that could be replaced. There's stone cleaning that could happen. And I'm not saying we go spend $1 million either, but it's gonna happen sometime. So we probably could have a conversation, create some sort type of a plan, and maybe put before the town each year, you know, here's a project that we all think and support. As a standalone. So I would feed that back to you guys to maybe get them into the next meeting or the couple meetings from now. Have that conversation so they can be thinking that we would support or not support. I can't speak for these guys, but I think if we all went out there and looked at those cemeteries of that eye, you'd see. I mean, they're manicured. Butch
Rodney does a great. yeah.
does
He does a great
a
job.
fantastic job for
Really
what
does.
we pay him for. But it's not that big maintenance stuff.
how many cemeteries are there?
That year.
Three.
Three.
Does.
So there's one here.
Yeah,
4 corners by my house, and then up by Al's snowmobile up by now.
Yeah. And I did actually have that conversation with them. I
Yeah,
had mentioned that because technically they don't really have a budget.
right,
But now that they're finally formed as a committee, they can go look out, start seeing what they need to have done. I said, because you don't really have a budget this coming year, if there's anything that's probably like really major needs to be done, you'd want to come talk with the town. But anything that you would like to have done, start putting that in your budget for this coming fall to put in for the next budget season time to go through. And I said that includes the fencing, the tree work, equipment, maybe the equipment we have is 5 or 8 years old and they need to have a new lawnmower, they need some new trimmers or whatever. I said, you just need to go through everything to see what you have and what you need to go, because like one comment right now that Jerry has stated, of course, Heritage Memorials purchased this property, his prior business. So they have a really good working relationship where he's like, hey, Scott, I need to dig a burial. Most of the time Scott will let him go pick up his excavator. So the town's not paying money, but the
Yeah.
town has to be the one to say the dirt. They have the funeral, he has to then go back and he has to cover it up,
Yeah.
anything if it's or whatever. So a lot of expenses the town has not paid for many years that once June gets done. I don't know if that same existence is probably going to last. I would probably reckon not. And that was something I mentioned to Dean, that you guys really need to figure out true costs.
yeah, we're gonna have to look at the whole budget, and the reason, there was some changes done there too, right? Remembering back a number of years ago, so I gotta get with David Barlow, who's knows some of that stuff, because he was a cemetery treasurer.
He takes care of all the money.
Right,
We have Praneet, who's the trustee of the cemetery funds.
Yeah.
Which basically really doesn't do anything. And that's why the comment was made at town meeting, we need to just get rid of that position, because technically David's doing everything.
There was some- there's some, I gotta remember that stuff, I gotta go relearn some of that stuff, because it's almost like road commissioner versus road foreman. I don't wanna say it. There's legally some differences on what, and I think right now the select board is the driver
Yes, you are.
of all of those issues, so.
Because
we would,
David probably knows the word, but they, not grandfather, you guys assumed.
because there
the
wasn't any, so,
association Or whatever. it was
right,
called.
so the legal standing of that is the board, and the town is the governing body of those. So when it comes to that budgeting, it's the town's budget. So yeah, we can relearn all that stuff together and figure it out, but I think it's a good conversation for us all to have.
Yeah, because I think another piece too is gonna be like the software.
Yeah,
Because there's a lot of towns who have a software where they keep track, because right now, honestly, it's all here in Jerry's head. I mean,
Right.
He has some different little maps of, I mean, you tell him somebody, and he can actually tell you where they are, but that's Jerry who can tell you that.
same conversation we've had 4 times now tonight, it's going back to the road foreman leaving and all the information goes with them. We don't wanna have that happen if we can
But
help it.
unfortunately, or I shouldn't say unfortunately, but fortunately, you've got Jerry who's hanging around and working with the 2 new people. Luckily, you have 2 residents who
Right.
actually jumped on board to
Yep.
become members. And they're ready, and Jerry's ready to give them information, so.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Motion to adjourn,
Thank you.
Second,
all in favor?
I.